Sometimes the smallest, quietest moments reveal who we really are. And sometimes, one simple act of kindness becomes the thing that changes a life forever. Tonight's story begins in a glowing downtown restaurant. A billionaire mother walks in with her teenage son, hoping for an ordinary dinner. But what she sees at the next table becomes anything but ordinary. Before we start, make sure to subscribe, like, and comment to support the channel. Your engagement helps us share more stories that inspire hearts and remind us of the good in this world. And welcome back to your channel name. Emma Carlisle had more money than she ever expected to have in her lifetime. CEO of 3 companies, owner of multiple charities, and known publicly as one of the richest self-made women in the country. But tonight wasn't about business, donors, or press. Tonight was about her son, 15-year-old Ethan, who had been slowly slipping away from her. He was growing distant, quiet, always on his phone, always frustrated, always feeling like he needed to impress his older, wealthier classmates. Emma saw him comparing himself to the world and losing. So she made a decision. Dinner tonight, she told him that afternoon. Just you and me, no business calls, no excuses. He shrugged, pretending not to care, but he came with her anyway. They walked into a warm, family-style restaurant with dim lighting and the smell of buttery rolls filling the air. It wasn't fancy. It wasn't the luxury places Ethan usually demanded. But it was quiet, peaceful, and full of ordinary people. They were led to their table near the window. Ethan sat down, still scrolling on his phone, shoulders slouched. Emma took a deep breath. She wanted to reconnect with him. She wanted to remind him there was more to life than competition, more than money, more than constantly trying to measure up, but she wasn't sure how, and that's when it happened. While scanning the menu, Emma's eyes drifted across the room and landed on a young man. Sitting alone with a little girl at the next table, he looked exhausted, the kind of tired that went deeper than just a long day. His back was slightly hunched, his shirt clearly worn from repeated use, and he had the look of someone doing everything he could to hold himself together. His daughter, maybe 6 or 7 years old, was smiling brightly as she colored on a kid's menu. The man kept glancing at the prices, his eyebrows tightening each time. Then he looked at his wallet, sighed, and looked away quickly before his daughter noticed. Emma felt something shift inside her. There was something painfully familiar about that scene. She remembered the years before her businesses took off, when she worked 3 jobs, slept in her car, and counted every dollar at restaurants she couldn't really afford. She remembered hoping her son never saw how worried she really was. Ethan noticed her staring. "What are you looking at?" he mumbled without lifting his eyes from his phone. "That man," she whispered. "He reminds me of us a long time ago." Ethan finally looked up, confused. "You? Mom, you were never like that." "Oh, I was exactly like that," she said softly. "You were too little to remember." He blinked, absorbing her words, then looked over at the single dad again. This time, he noticed things he hadn't seen before, the hesitation, the stress, the way the man kept encouraging his daughter with a smile, even though he seemed to be crumbling inside. The waitress came to the table next to them and asked, "Are we ready to order?" The man swallowed hard. Actually, could we just get one kid's meal?" Shell split it with me. His daughter tugged his arm. "But Daddy, I'm really hungry." He forced a smile. "I know, sweetheart. Well, make it work." Emma felt her throat tighten. Ethan leaned closer and whispered, "Can't he just get something else?" "He can't afford it," Emma said quietly. The realization settled heavily on Ethan's face. He wasn't used to thinking about people struggling. His world, his school, his friends, everything around him seemed effortless, glossy, expensive. But this was real, right in front of him. The waitress walked away. Emma watched as the man folded his hands, staring down at the table, the weight of the world sitting on his shoulders, and suddenly she stood up. "Mom?" Ethan whispered. "Come with me," she said. He followed her reluctantly, unsure what she was planning. Emma approached the waitress behind the counter and gently tapped her shoulder. "That table over there," Emma said quietly. "The father and daughter. Put their entire meal on my bill. And—" she paused, thinking, "actually, bring them the best meals you have, add dessert. And pack up a take-home meal for them, too. Tell them it's simply a surprise from the restaurant." The waitress' eyes widened. "Are you sure?" Emma nodded. Ethan stared at his mother, shocked. "You're doing all that? For strangers?" She looked at him, her expression soft. "A long time ago," she said. "Someone helped me when I didn't know how I was going to feed us. I never forgot it." They returned to their table, and Ethan kept peeking over, waiting. A few minutes later, the waitress arrived at the single dad's table with plates of steaming food, fresh rolls, grilled chicken, pasta, and a dessert that made the little girl gasp. "For us," she squealed. "For you," the waitress said with a smile. "And someone wanted you to know. You're doing a great job." The man looked confused, his eyes immediately filled with tears. I didn't order this. It's covered," the waitress said gently. "Everything. Even the food you'll take home." He covered his face with his hand for a moment, overwhelmed. Then he lowered it and looked at his daughter, smiling through tears. "See, sweetheart, there's still goodness in the world." The little girl nodded happily. "Maybe it's from Grandma in heaven," she whispered. Ethan's throat tightened as he watched. He had never seen anything like this up close, pure gratitude, raw and honest. The man kept searching around the restaurant, trying to figure out who did it. His eyes eventually landed on Emma, though she hadn't meant for him to know. He mouthed, "Thank you," with a small, trembling smile. Emma placed her hand on her heart. Ethan watched the exchange silently. When they left the restaurant, Ethan asked, "Mom, do you still think about when things were hard?" "Every day," she said. They walked to the car slowly. The night breeze was cool, brushing softly against them. "You know," Ethan whispered, "I think I've been worrying about the wrong things." Emma wrapped an arm around his shoulder. "It's normal to forget what matters. But kindness," she paused. "Kindness always brings us back." He leaned into her side just a little. "Can we do that again sometime?" She smiled. "Yes. As many times as you want." Behind them, through the restaurant window, they could see the single dad laughing with his daughter, genuine laughter, the kind that comes from finally feeling seen. And just like that, a quiet dinner turned into a moment of hope, a reminder that every act of kindness, no matter how small, ripples farther than we ever realize. In a world filled with pressure, comparison, and noise, kindness is still the thing that cuts through it all. One dinner, one stranger, one moment, and a billionaire mother teaching her son the most important lesson she ever learned, not about wealth, but about humanity. Let this story remind us that we all have the power to lift someone up today. With a smile, with a gesture, with a kindness someone never forgets, because sometimes the unbelievable thing is simply choosing to care, and that choice can change everything.